Today we're actually going to continue with the Outsider series, and we're going to talk about some of the skills that you need to make it on the outside as a free person and no longer as a prisoner of society. So in order to transition from an environment where you work for someone to working alone, you're going to need additional skills because you're going to be completely responsible for your work life and your output in ways that you never have been before. And there's no one that's going to bug you about deadlines unless you have customers, but even then, you're expected to be responsible for yourself and get the product delivered. So you're going to need to learn to have discipline, focus, and perseverance, and you're going to have to exercise those things on a daily basis. So these things will actually assist you in being able to work diligently, alone, from home, wherever you're going to work, as a freelancer, an entrepreneur, or even as an artist or a writer. So one of the first things that you're going to need to develop is focus. And people are often very distracted by loud noises and bright colors and flashing lights. And these things tend to break our focus very quickly, and it makes it hard to return to what we're doing. So you're likely to also have other distractions and triggers that cause you to lose focus. And so you're going to have to determine what those things are. And each time that you have something that distracts you, you should write it down so that you are completely aware of it. You've also made yourself responsible for it by writing it down. And you're going to start to remove those distractions from your environment as soon as you find them. So you're also going to want to find or create an environment that's free of these distractions. So if video games are a distraction for you, you're going to have to remove them from the room. So if you play them on your TV, then you shouldn't be working in the room with the console. Or if it's on one laptop or a desktop computer, you need to use a different one for work stuff, or at least a different identity for booting into it. So also, you don't want to work in environments where you're going to be constantly distracted. So if you're an extrovert working around tons and tons of people that you want to have conversations with, will actually probably be more problematic than working alone, because people are your distraction in that scenario. So these things are really going to help you maintain your focus, which is actually better than trying to regain your focus, because it takes way longer to try to regain your focus after you've been distracted than it takes to maintain it. So one of the next things that you're going to have to learn to develop is discipline. And this is something that I've actually talked a lot about in my trading videos, and I know Arthur has covered it as well in his psychology series. So you have to determine what your weaknesses are and your strengths, and you really need to understand what the triggers are that prevent you from finishing or starting tasks. Remove the distractions from your environment and create a strategy that actually helps you to follow through with your plans. And you're going to have to learn to tolerate some emotional discomfort and some suffering, because you're no longer going to give in to every temptation in your environment or every temptation that crosses your path, and you're not going to go out and seek temptations that would distract you from whatever your goal is. So when you learn to push past those things and move towards your goal, you're probably going to feel lonely, you're going to feel frustrated, you might feel angry, you might feel sad that you've missed out on something. But it's really necessary to increase your tolerance to these things, to negative emotions, in order to get what you want. And by living as an outsider, you are also going to have to get used to being lonely, frustrated, and sad until you can learn to change that into something more positive for yourself. So discipline in this way will help you in the long run, not just with finishing tasks, but also with dealing with a lifestyle that is just vastly different than the lifestyle that most people have. The other thing that you're going to have to develop is perseverance. Developing perseverance is actually a lot easier than developing discipline, and it's something that you can do very quickly. So it basically takes you recognizing what your goal is. Maybe your goal is to freelance and you want to complete a certain number of tasks per day. So whatever it is that you want to accomplish and focus on without giving in to distractions. So basically, you're just going to remove yourself from situations or people that are very distracting, people that don't want to see you achieve your goals, and you want to remove a lot of the negative thinking from the process. If you're constantly telling yourself that you can't persevere, you can't have focus, you can't have discipline, then you're probably going to fail. And again, this is something I've talked a lot about in my trading series of videos. Basically, these things are required to help you work alone. If you have been constantly reliant on others to give you feedback about how you're doing, about keeping your schedule for you, about sort of treating you like cattle, moving you from one task to the next on an hourly basis where you don't have very much say, then you are going to have to learn perseverance in order to be disciplined, to figure out how to be alone, and to be an outsider. And that's really one of the last things that you need to learn is you have to have an ability to work alone, to be able to generate a lot of ideas alone. And it's almost like living and working from a vacuum at times. And it can be very lonely for some people, most especially extroverts. And so you probably want to watch my video number 2 if you haven't already about how to come up with ideas for new products and services or a business as a whole, just by using your experiences as an outsider. So also, sometimes you may not want to work alone. And certainly there are places you can go to share space with others. But part of being an outsider is learning to work alone and taking responsibility for your work environment and making it easy to persevere and achieve your goals and still do all of that when you're by yourself. So hopefully these few things have been helpful to help you learn how to transition from an environment where you typically work for someone to one where you're working for yourself and you don't really have much focus or discipline. So hopefully when you develop these things, you can work more diligently as a freelancer or entrepreneur and live on the outside.